Gigantamax in Pokemon Go, for the most part, was a pretty challenging experience. So now that we have all the know-hows, the tips, the strategies, what might work, what might not work, what's stronger, Dynamax or Gigantamax? Today we're going to go over everything you need to know about the new Gigantamax system, what my thoughts and feedbacks are about the system, and then most importantly, what my strategy going forward is, because we've learned a lot about Pokemon Go over the last many years, including all those years that I've played, and I want to share everything that I know and what I think that my new strategy is going to be in regards to Gigantamax in Pokemon Go. So welcome to the Trainer Club. Here we go. So let's start off with the basics of Dynamax and Gigantamax. What are these systems? So the Dynamax and Gigantamax are basically a mega evolution, if you would call that, from what you do know about Pokemon Go, of these Pokemon going into their bigger forms. So the Dynamax is a bigger form and Gigantamax is like that Pokemon, except it kind of transitions into a different version of itself. Think of as the Mega System happens, and let's say that the Mawile doesn't look exactly like the Mega Mawile. Well, same thing goes with the Gigantamax. The new thing about these particular Pokemon is that for the Dynamax and the Gigantamax, you cannot remote raid into these. These are done at max battles, at the waypoints for the max battles that are very obvious. You can collect 800 max particles per day, and max particles are going to be the way that you pay into this system to be able to participate. So you can do one Gigantamax battle per day. They're not always active, or you can break it up multiple times throughout that experience, and you could do a couple 250 Tier 1 max battles as opposed to one Tier 6 Gigantamax battle. So those are the different options. What I do like about the system is that they're using what they learned on the Raid Pass system and they're changing it for this system. And what I mean by that is that a Raid Premium Battle Pass costs the same for a Pikachu as does a Mega Rayquaza, which is totally imbalanced. So what they've done here is they've taken max particles and they've siphoned it up into basically the cost per raid, and they've gone everywhere from 250 for basically the Tier 1 raid and all the way up to 800, which is the one full day's worth of collection, which is going to be the same as collecting one Premium Battle Pass. So from this regard, I really like that you can break up multiple smaller ones, and then you could also do one big one. Obviously, paying for max particles is going to be a different experience for you, and it's something that happens. As far as getting a Dynamax and a Gigantamax Pokemon, as of right now making this video, unfortunately there is no way to get your old Pokemon into this new system. So pretty much all of the Pokemon that you've been accumulating, if there is a Dynamax or a Gigantamax form, what would then happen is you have to basically start over again, right? And so that is one of those things that I've been constantly sharing my opinion with Niantic and others, because I would really like to be able to take all these resources, all these Pokemon that we've been refining over the years, and even if you have to make it a best buddy and battle with it 1,000 times or whatever that is to make it capable of going into a Dynamax, I'm totally fine with that, as opposed to having to basically raid for all these Pokemon over again, which is the current situation right now, which is why I will share my strategy towards the end of this video. So let's talk about the Gigantamax mechanics. Well, the Gigantamax can go all the way up until 40 trainers in a battle, which is quite a lot. On the first front, everybody's like, well, they're really challenging. Well, yes, they are really challenging. There's going to be a lot of strategy needed for smaller trainer quantities to be able to take this down. So when you jump into a Gigantamax battle, what happens is that you are divided into teams of 4. From teams 1 all the way until team 10, okay? So there can be up to 10 different teams. And so once you get into this battle, obviously all the Pokemon trainers are gonna be local. I would suggest basically forming groups around what team you are, because there's gonna be some strategy to this beyond just being able to know what team you are. So everybody goes into one area. So that's number 1. Number 2, to compete in these Gigantamax battles, the strategy is to basically do whatever it takes to get at least one of these Pokemon. The Gigantamax are the strongest of all of them. So if there is a Dynamax Charizard and you have a Gigantamax Charizard, obviously use the Gigantamax, it's gonna hit harder, and it is a more effective version of the Dynamax. So that is going to be one of my points that I'm gonna make a video about here soon, is which Pokemon do you focus on Dynamax, and then which Pokemon do you skip and just wait for the Gigantamax to come out? Well, in some situations, you might just have to raid the Dynamax to get you the Gigantamax, which is kind of what we've experienced right off the rip. And so for these Pokemon, there's two different phases. There's the regular phase, and then there's the Gigantamax/Dynamax phase. So the regular phase is basically everybody's attacking with their regular fast moves and then their charge moves, and by doing these over and over again with multiple trainers, you can fill up the max meter. Once the max meter hits the top, you automatically go into your Dynamax or your Gigantamax form, which is then where the movesets change. So every typing is going to have a specific moveset. There will be a specific attack move that's generalist to that specific type. So if we look at my Metagross here, if we go ahead and we're going to go ahead and Dynamax this Pokemon, we have Max Steel Spike. That's going to be the moveset for this Pokemon. As you can see, I have maxed it all the way out. I've maxed out the Spirit, and the one that I'm waiting for after today, well, I have it maxed out, is going to be Max Guard. There are 3 different levels to all of these, which we will talk about here in a second. So this one I also maxed all the way to level 50. I did get the 100% IV Veldum, and since I already have a pretty good Metagross collection with the regular Dynamax Hundo, we have the Lucky Hundo regular, we have a good quality shiny, we have the Hundo Shadow version as well. So I thought that this would be suiting that. I was going to max it eventually. And so then if I do go look, I did also Elite TM Meteor Mash onto this Pokemon as well. And so what I was thinking about, well, while we do have this new system, do I need to put all of the old moves with all the Elite TMs needed onto these new Pokemon? Not really. The main focus of these Pokemon really should be investing in one of these 3 moves, which is going to be the Max Regular Attack, we have the Guard, and then we have the Spirit. And so once we get into this Dynamax or Gigantamax mode, we are going to choose. So here's where that party of 4, whichever one you're in, being together locally is going to matter. So what you are going to do in parties of 4, you're going to have 2 attackers, which is my suggestion. You're going to have 1 person that does heals, and you're going to have 1 person that does shields. So in this regard, number 1, what you're doing is you're going to be able to heal your Pokemon if needed. Number 2, you're going to be able to shield the moves coming off of those Pokemon so your party can last longer. And then number 3, you're going to attack with the other Pokemon. Now, if you have leftover shields, maybe all your Pokemon are at full health, maybe you don't need those Pokemon. So in my suggestion is that everybody should focus on having at least a level 3 attack of all of these Pokemon. That makes sense. Number 2, I think that certain people will, depending on the party, so for me, I might have 1 Pokemon that has the max move and then that has the max Spirit. And then I might have another Pokemon that has the max attack and then it has the max guard, okay? So that when we go into that situation with those people, what that's gonna look like is, okay, I have max attack, everybody has max attack. Well, who has a max Spirit and who has a max guard? So depending on who has those are going to be chosen to be able to be in charge of those moves so that you can make your party last longer. Because, like I said earlier in the video, the goal is to struggle into getting a Gigantamax Pokemon. Once you do get that Gigantamax Pokemon, then you're just using that Gigantamax or multiple of them in the battle, which is going to make this situation so much easier than using a tier 1, a level 1, like Froakie or something like that, which was my situation when I went in against a Gigantamax Blastoise and I got wiped immediately. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't gonna work here. So then we're gonna go into the moveset. So as far as a personal attack, if the boss is targeting you personally, you can dodge that move, which would read in the attack feed in the bottom right that the attack is incoming. However, if it says the boss, whatever it is preparing a large attack, that means that that move is targeted for the entire team and you will not be able to dodge it, and that's where the max guard comes into the best play. And so as we did talk about, when the Dynamax phases go all the way to the top, your Pokemon will automatically Dynamax or Gigantamax, whichever one you have in the battle. So breaking it down, you have the attackers, you have the healers, and you have the shielders. And those are going to be the main responsibilities of those people. But in your teams of 4, which I suggest you guys break up into, because you can't select that team of 4 as of right now, you guys can decide, okay, well, who's going to do it? You guys can each keep count on your health and then on the shields that you are having as well. And Pokemon Go Hub has pointed out that using only max attacks will not work and be successful. So you are going to need shielders as well as the healers along this journey. And I suggest that everybody takes a step back from having an ego being like, oh, well, you know, I'm just an attacker because everybody wants to attack. But really, what's the difference? It's a strategy getting you to an end goal. It doesn't matter which of the ones you do. Whoever has the most strong version of the type effective stab Pokemon, I suggest is an attacker. So if we're going after a fairy Pokemon and I have a max Metagross all the way with a max move, and somebody else has maybe a level 41, I have a level 50, and it's a hundo, obviously I would be chosen to be a max attacker to do the most damage, because the other end, having the Pokemon level doesn't matter so much for the shield and the heals, which is something I am going to put a note in as well. And then don't forget that when you faint, you can still participate by cheering on your team and helping them towards getting their Dynamax, Gigantamax evolutions to happen. So now let's break down some of the moves of these Pokemon and just make sure we know exactly what's going on here. In order to level up these moves, which is something that I hope that they take out, I don't like that they use max particles, but you can use Stardust as well as XL candy for these Pokemon. So Gigantamax Pokemon will always have the same move. However, the Dynamax Pokemon will max the move to whatever fast moves that they have. So please make sure to choose a fast move that will be the most in accordance to what is the most effective type for that Pokemon. I.e., the Metagross has a Steel fast move so that it can get the Dynamax Steel move. As far as the attack power for the Dynamax, level 1 is going to be 250, level 2 300, level 3 350. For the Gigantamax, the level 1 is starting at the level 3 for the Dynamax. So you already can see how much more powerful it is. And then it's going to go to 350 for 1, 400 for 2, and 450 for level 3. So as you can see, the Gigantamax moves are going to be much stronger than the Dynamax moves. And so for me personally, this video that I'm going to make is going to be very important for you guys. So please make sure to put this video up here. It will be up here eventually. But it's very important because the Dynamax Pokemon are really just the gateway to get you the Gigantamax Pokemon. They are the end goal, they are the strongest, so why mess around with Dynamax Pokemon when you can just get the Gigantamax versions of a lot of these Pokemon? Obviously, they're gonna roll out a whole lot slower and more strategic, but they are very, very powerful and they are the end goal in this system. And also, while the Gigantamax is in its Gigantamax form, its first move is going to be a very powerful G-Max move. And this one isn't specific to the fast move typing. This is going to be a Pokemon move that goes to Gigantamax in general. And then let's talk about the Max Guard. So what the Max Guard is it's going to be a shield that targets the Dynamax or Gigantamax Pokemon's move attacking you after you're done in your Gigantamax or Dynamax form towards your shield, and it basically draws out that move as opposed to getting hit by it. The max shield guard power at level 1 is 20, at level 2 is 40, and at level 3 is 60, so it's actually relatively significant. And the max guard, when used, will only be present for that Pokemon. Okay, so let's say in that party of 4 trainers, I'm using max guard, so I have my shields. And then what you could do is multiple trainers could have max guard as well. So maybe in round 1, I'm the one that does the max guard. And so that then draws out the attack towards me of this Dynamax Pokemon. The next round, I could be an attacker. Somebody else could do the max guard until I need to do it again. So we do get 3 moves. So we might as well make 2 of them attacks and then potentially 1 of them to be a max guard so that you can have those shields and you can keep your Gigantamax Pokemon alive longer. And then let's move into max shield. So max shield is going to shield the entire party. So at level 1 it's 8%, at level 2 it's 12%, and then at level 3 it's 16%. So that's not super significant, but if you do use it 2 times, we're talking about potentially 32% healing on that specific Pokemon. And so Pokemon Go Hub does a good job pointing out that maybe you see that Max Guard is way better than Max Spirit. Well, the one thing about this move is that it does heal all 4 Pokemon. So in order, if you have a level 3, you're going to be doing a 16% heal over 4 different Pokemon for a pretty good bump in health. And so I would say to use the Max Spirit accordingly. Know that the Max Shield is a little bit more effective at shielding damage, but the Max Heal is definitely something to be used, especially when you're trying to elongate a party, and especially when you are going after something with less trainers and you need more health to be able to keep going. Which then leads us into Pokemon Go Hub's recommendation. So you can have 2 attackers, a healer, and a shielder. And while I think that is cool, making sure whoever has the max heal at the level 3 and the max shield at level 3 is very important in this situation. Can change it up if we don't need shields. Guys, please make sure to do all attacks. And while you have to be strategic, you have to be communicating and see where everybody's health is. That's going to be an important factor. Okay, so here is what my strategy is from here on out. So I am going to be collecting Dynamax, Gigantamax Pokemon, and I'm going to be saving them. I'm putting them in a folder that's going to be called like DG Max, okay, whatever I call it. And what I'm doing is I'm saving these Pokemon for an event that when we have that event, it's going to be an increased lucky trade event, meaning that I am going to be able to trade Pokemon and there's an increased chance of getting lucky Pokemon. So I'm going to also ask some friends to be able to save these Pokemon as well, to not just trade them immediately, put them in a folder, and so that when these events come out, I will be able to trade these Pokemon without having to use them as special trades unless I get shiny ones, which I will definitely consider doing. And then I will be able to get these Pokemon in lucky forms. So why am I doing this? Well, I do think that eventually there's going to be something bigger coming to the Dynamax Gigantamax system, such as legendary Pokemon, that we are going to need some Pokemon saved up. Number 2, I have a lot of Stardust. I already have invested in a lot of these raid boss Pokemon. Do I really want to try to raid individually to try to get 98%, 100% of all these Pokemon? The answer here for me is an absolutely no way, no chance, no how. So what I am more interested in is just getting a lucky version of these Gigantamax and Dynamax Pokemon and then choosing to power that Pokemon up. I already have a ton of candy, a ton of XL candy, a good amount of Stardust, and I don't feel like paying to have a couple extra stat points when in reality, in actuality, a level 50 lucky 93% is gonna be pretty much just as effective as a 100% level 50 non-lucky that cost you double the amount of Stardust when I could have a Blastoise and a Venusaur Gigantamax powered up lucky for the price of one 98 or 100% IV. Well, granted, I did do the Metagross, and when I do get the 100% IVs, I will definitely be maxing those, but I'm way more strategically aligned with doing this strategy as opposed to another one. So save those Pokemon for increased luckies for trading event, and then trade those, and then start powering those up in those situations. And as of right now, how to get around that is to go in with big parties. Everybody needs to at least get one Gigantamax Pokemon. Once you get one Gigantamax Pokemon, that Pokemon always goes in the party regardless of if it is type effective or not, unless it's weak, which then may not be the best situation, like taking a Venusaur into a Charizard raid, probably not the best play. Using those Gigantamax Pokemon in big parties, and that's going to help you take it down. Once we started using Gigantamax in those parties, if you want to see this video, you can. It helped out a ton and was able to get us taking these Pokemon down much faster, much more efficient, and as all we needed was level 20 Gigantamax Pokemon. And so if you want to start pushing the meter to have less trainers, that's going to be where you're going to need to invest those resources to start powering those Pokemon up. So that's it, guys. I know that the Gigantamax will keep evolving, we'll keep coming out with tips, but that's the best strategy to help you guys out and to make sure to conserve your resources, to not spend a ton again on raid battles that are basically raid battles reskinned with new strategies. I think it's a fun concept and dynamic, but I'm not willing to overspend my Stardust and go crazy on dollars to try to get these Pokemon in a system that's cool. I like it. I like the strategy. I like the grouping. I think it's a fun camaraderie for people, but that's going to be where it ends for me, and I'm not going to go crazy about IVs anymore in that system. It makes it easier, it's more fun, more enjoyable, and I don't have to stress myself out. I can just enjoy the game. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. To all of my likers, commenters, subscribers, Patreon members, everybody takes your support, subscription, and participation to XO. I'm gonna see you guys out on the next video. Peace. I want to take this time to thank everybody who supports me in every facet. It means the world to me, and an extra special thank you to all my Patreons. I greatly appreciate the extra support to continue to allow me to pursue Pokemon Go full time, allowing me to create my daily video uploads in the most timely fashion for everyone's benefit. Plus, I get the amazing experience of sharing my creative processes behind the scenes and raiding all around the globe with select upper tiers. Thank you everybody for being a part of the Trainer Club. You all mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you guys out on the next video.